What is up, guys? In this video I'm gonna give you a beginner's guide on how to get into Ravenswatch, which is a pretty fun game to play. I've recently beat it on the hardest difficulty and it was a heck of an experience. The game is an action roguelike, so the mechanics are built around that genre. You start from a run perspective, and if you die you have to restart, and that is what I will prepare you for in this guide, so you have an easier time playing the game, so you don't have to restart that much. So let's get right into it. So you start in the lobby menu, and if you go to the left and click on the hero, you are in the character select menu, and the game already has a lot of heroes. 9 of them are already available, and you do have to unlock some of them, but they are very easy to get. You just have to complete the first chapters of a run with the 4 heroes that are already unlocked at the start. And this makes it so you unlock the next 4 characters, and then you just have to play one of the new characters you have unlocked and get it to chapter 1 to get the last character unlocked. What I recommend you do when playing a hero for the first time is to check their abilities. You can just find this when in character select, clicking on details, or go to the second tab on the top of the book menu. You can go to the heroes and check their abilities there. Each hero will have different abilities, making them have all unique playstyles. The first ability, which is the trait, is based on a character's lore, which is that they are from an alternative dark fantasy fairy tale origin, which is pretty interesting and rad, and leveling them up will unlock tales of their backstory as well, but these trait abilities will variate a lot depending on which character you play. The attack is pretty much the damage you do when the other abilities are on cooldown. The power is more focused on dealing high damage. The special is more used for crowd control by staggering the enemies or give them a debuff and knocking them down. The defense is focused on defending yourself from the attacks, which will mostly make you intangible for a few seconds, which means that you can't get hit. Other abilities will also sometimes make you intangible, so it is worth inspecting the abilities and read what they do before you start out. And as final, you got your ultimate, which can be a high damage attack or a high end support ability, great when playing in co-op, or just a gimmick ability that just boosts the character's other abilities. It really depends on which hero you play. Now let's talk about the talents. They are upgrades or enhancements to your current abilities, making them stronger or expanding the ways they can be used in the game. So let me explain the numbers you see before the column rows on the talent section. The talents that are in the first row are the talents you can choose from at the start of a run, and you can only choose one of these in a run. Some of these will have a quest gimmick, so you have to do a specific thing to make it stronger, and if you fully complete the quest, you get a bonus. The number 2 rows, those are the talents you can pick from if you level up during the run and are randomized. So this will dictate which build you are going to prioritize from the choices of the talents you get. During runs, you will be able to level up to 10, and if you hit level 5, you can unlock your ultimate, and on level 10, you will be able to choose from the talents in the 3rd row section, which are upgrades to the ultimate you have chosen during the run. And for each hero, you will be able to choose from 2 different ultimates on level 5, and on level 10, you can enhance them with 2 different types of talents. But you do have to level up the hero's base level to unlock more talents, and the second ultimate, which is done by playing and gaining score points after a run to level them up. The max level is going to be 9. This is also how you get more details for the backstory. The game will also have a day and night cycle within the runs, and this can affect the abilities from the heroes. For example, Scarlet will turn into a werewolf and it will change the abilities altogether. Now we will go into the game. So the game will have 3 chapters, which are the levels. So you spawn into the map. The layout of this map is always the same, but the point of interest spawns are always randomized. So let's talk about the point of interest. The place where you spawn is the Sandman. Here you can prepare for choosing your start talent, and you can also interact with the Sandman, and with him you can upgrade your talents to the next rarity, which makes them stronger. You also have a set of 6 random boosts on the right side of the menu that you can buy to make yourself stronger, and you do need dream shards to upgrade them. If you leave this area, there will be a timer counting down, and if this timer is down, you will be teleported to the chapter nightmare boss. So the thing here is that you want to make yourself stronger by exploring the map before the timer runs out. So there are multiple ways to make yourself stronger, and that is by leveling up to get more talents. and getting stat bonuses. These are vitality, damage, armor, critical hit chance, and critical damage. As final, you can also gain magical objects that will have passive bonuses to make yourself stronger. So to get these things, you need to explore the map to find points of interest, and some are highlighted when you start the run. A tip here is that the map layout and chapters is always the same. So you can see on the map between the roads, there is an open area, and that is where the point of interest are going to be. So you know kind of where they are, even though they're not displayed. What you can find in these point of interest are chests. They serve as ways to get those magical objects, and these will serve as building blocks for your hero's build. The thing here is, the more duplicates you have of the magical object, the stronger they are going to be with their bonuses. And also will give you a additional bonus if you have a lot of them. So for common objects, you will need 5 duplicates to get the bonus stat. For rare, it's 4, and for epic is 3. Further, every point of interest is marked with a color around it. So if it is green, you will be facing fewer enemies, but the reward will also be lower. So for chests, you are likely to find a common one, and if it is orange, you will be facing more enemies and stronger ones too, but the reward will be more likely to be rare. And if it is the color red, it is way more difficult to clear, but you are more likely to get an epic reward. So how the colors point of interest are spawning, it is that the further you go away from the starting point where you can interact with a Sandman, the colors will change from green, orange to red. And it is better to clear the green colors first, because you can use those to make yourself stronger for facing the harder clear points of interest, which are more in the opposite side of the spawning location. And also enemies between those point of interest, so on the road, they will also be a lot harder, and you will be facing more enemies when moving further away from the start location. The next point of interest you can find are large dream crystals. If you break these, you can gain dream shards, which are used as money to trade with. You can also find lesser crystals between the points of interest on the road, but if you have enemies near them, the crystals get a damage reducing shield, which makes them harder to crack. So you want to clear the enemies first, and also in the actual point of interest of the dreaming crystal, you want to clear the enemies because the crystals are also shielded there. And the color will dictate how hard the enemies are going to be and how much dream shards you can gain. But for this one, it also depends on how many crystals there are on that point to break, because sometimes you do get more from a lesser difficulty than a higher difficulty, because there were more dream crystals to break. The next point of interest you can find is the wishing well. So this one will have 5 different rewards depending on the amount of dream shards you can donate. If you donate 50, you will get a consumable to raise your stats a bit, or you can also get a Star of Fate, which is used for rerolling any of the rewards you get, including the talents and magic objects, so they can help you with building better. You can also get these from other magical objects, or the Sandman may sell them. If you donate 100 shards, you will get a common object, and if you donate 150 shards, you will get a rare object. After that, you can donate 250 shards for an epic object, and as final, you can donate 350 shards, which grants you a legendary object or a cursed object, where the legendary gives you a really strong bonus with no strings attached, but for the cursed objects, you will get a good benefit, but you will be weaker in another aspect. For the wishing well, the colors do play a part in which amounts you can donate, and you can do it up to 3 times. So on the green one, you will get a choice from the 50 shard donate, 100 and 150. And for the orange, you will get 100, 150 and 250. And for the red one, you will get 150, 250, and then for the last one, it's 350. Next up is the vision tower, which will highlight the point of interest still to be discovered on the map and reveal them, which point of interest is located on the map. So the color can dictate how many points get discovered when interacting with the vision tower. It also grants vision of the health fountains, which is really useful, and they are used for fully healing yourself and increases your vitality, which increases your max health. You also have the Grimoire, which looks like a book on the map, and here you need to defeat a wave of enemies on a time limit. If you beat them before the timer runs out, you get an upgrade to your stats, or you can get some dream shards or the Star of Fate to reroll your choices. If you do not succeed, however, before the timer runs out, the reward will be forfeit. So I recommend you make yourself stronger in other areas first before attempting these. The color of the difficulty will dictate how high the reward will be and how hard the enemies will be in the wave. You can also find an altar of heroes. Here you can use your dream shards to get a raven's feather, and these will serve as self-revives. In multiplayer these are shared, but you can revive your teammates without using one. But if it is crowded with enemies, it is hard to do, because if you get hit while reviving, it will stop. But if you do revive, the death's door timer will stop, and if it does hit 0, you will use a raven feather or die if you haven't got any. The altar can also give you more XP after you bought the raven feather, but it will cost you some extra dream shards. Now we're going to be talking about the side quests. In each chapter you will have a side quest available, and they're always the same in that specific chapter. But for the first chapter you get a different variation of what material you need to collect, because it is the 3-pig story from the fairy tale, that they will make a house of straw, wood or stone. And if you go to the quest point on the map, which is always revealed on the map, you need to find 15 of the material around the map and then go back to build the house. And then you do need to defend it from waves of enemies. If you do complete it, you can gain a legendary object. However, if you fail to defend, you will get nothing, but you still get the XP. In the second chapter, you will need to go into the cave and defeat 2 small waves of enemies, and then you go into an arena where you need to fight a Cyclops, which if he eats Sinbad, the reward is forfeit. So you have to defeat him before he eats all the 3 men hanging, because the last one is Sinbad. And if you do beat him before he eats Sinbad, you will get a legendary object from him, and if you didn't, well, you still get some XP. In the third chapter, you have to free Morgan in a side room near the stair section and defeat the knight near her. After that, she will move to another point on the map, and if you go there, you will need to defeat the possessed Arthur boss while defending the tree. If you have completed it and the tree is still standing, you will get a legendary object from Morgan. So these quests you always want to do because the reward is worth it, although I would recommend you get yourself quite stronger at the start of each chapter before attempting these, so you can clear them and not ending up failing them, so you still get the object from them. The same goes for the other point of interest, which is the optional boss. This does require you to find a red key on the map, and this key location is really randomized, so you have to be lucky if you come across this key. But if you find one, beating the optional boss is really worth it because it gives you a legendary object or a cursed one, which can help you out in the run quite a bit. The last point of interest is the Nightmare Tumors. Here you have to fight off 3 waves of enemies, which are pretty tough. And if you do complete them, the Nightmare boss of the chapter has its health reduced by 20%. And there are always 2 Nightmare Tumors to find in each chapter. They're definitely worth doing on harder difficulties because the Nightmare bosses are really stronger in that difficulty, and having their health reduced is just free damage, which makes the fight easier. So these were all the points of interest, and you can teleport around the map as well when you find the Raven teleporters. So they are marked with some purplish circle, so you can easily teleport to points where, for example, you skipped a Grimoire to get stronger first, and if you're ready, you can quickly teleport back to it and complete it faster, so you don't lose time for backtracking, and you can also teleport back to the Sandman. However, you can only teleport when no enemies are near, and if they are, you can move away from them and they will get leached back to their spawning points, or you can just kill them so you can teleport. So after you make yourself stronger by roaming around the map and doing the point of interest, the countdown will hit 0. You will be instantly teleported to the boss fight then of the chapter, and you're just forced to fight it. If you do beat it, you will be sent to the next chapter, and if you do play solo, you can save your run here after beating the boss, and you can quit and complete the run later. Great if you have to do other stuff. So we're going to talk about the combat, and like I said before, each hero will have a set of abilities to take down the enemies. There's some difference between the enemies because some of them will have a stagger bar below the health bar, and most of them will also have a shield on the left side of the health bar, so they will take less damage from attacks and abilities. But you can stagger them by attacking. This will fill up the white bar below the health bar, and when this one is full, they will be knocked out, and this will also remove the shield. So this is the moment to do high damage with your abilities to take them down quickly before they stand up again and regain the shield. So how to effectively clear enemies is that you want to take down the enemies that do not have a stagger bar or a shield first, because they will be easier to kill. You can focus then on the bigger guys, because you do have to stagger them the most of the time to beat them, which is much easier to do when there are no other enemies near. So this is where the abilities come in. Mostly your power and special are going to be great for taking down enemies fast because they deal the most damage. So you want to make them stronger if you can, but for some builds, attacks and defense can also do good damage. When you're in combat, you do want to kite around the enemies using your abilities and then wait for the cooldowns to be up again to do damage again. Your dash can be a great help to juke around the battles, but however, this does not give you invincibility frames, so only a quick way to get out of attacks fast. Because bigger enemies can do an attack that builds up with an indicator displaying where it is going to land, and the dash helps out to get out of the way. But besides that, some abilities can make you intangible, which makes you untargetable, so you can use those as well to dodge attacks. But for some attacks though, you can't bypass them with the intangible, then you need to get out of the way of the attack indicator. If you play in multiplayer, your best bet is to focus on one enemy, especially if they have a shield and can be staggered, because then all of you can knock it down fast if you focus that one, so you can all do damage afterward if it is knocked down. How you want to move around the map is mostly that you want to avoid the enemies on the road, only really if there are dream crystals or hell fountains nearby. Otherwise you cannot interact with them, and focus on taking down enemies in the point of interest. And be careful you don't aggro too much enemies on the road, because they will follow you to the point of interest, making it so you might get overwhelmed by enemies, making it a lot harder. If you are facing the Master Nightmare bosses, they will have a gimmick that they can be staggered to knock them down and remove the shield. So when this happens, it will be the best damage cycle to defeat them. For the first chapter, Master Nightmare, you will need to take down all the tentacles around the arena to knock it down. And for the second chapter, the boss will be spawning eyes around the arena, and if you take all of them down, it will be knocked down. The third Master Nightmare will work a little different, because you will be facing two bosses at once, and their stagger bars are linked and need to attack both to fill the stagger bar individually. If one of the boss's stagger bar is full, it will become immune to damage, and you will need to fill the bar on the other one. If both bars are full, they will be both knocked down. If you can, you want to get them close to each other before they are knocked, so you can deal damage to both of them. Because if you do kill one of them, the other one will be knocked for a few seconds. But while he is in that state, he will be reviving the other boss after standing up. For the other bosses in the game, so the optional ones or in the quest, they also will have this stagger bar, and if you do fill it, they will be knocked and remove the shield, so you can then do more damage. However, for the epilogue final boss fight, you won't be able to stagger her, so you have to fight her while dodging the attacks, which makes it a lot harder. Talking about hard, there are going to be 4 different difficulties you can play the game on, and with the first one being adventure, here you can do the first 3 chapters with each of them having the nightmare boss. It also gives you a lot of self-revives, so playing it on this difficulty is good for learning the game. If you have beaten this one, you can go to the next difficulty, which is Twilight. In this difficulty, you will gain 10% less XP and also lesser self-revives, with that enemies will be corrupted. These enemies will then have a reddish glow on them, and they will have more damage on their attacks and also enhanced special attacks. The Master Nightmare bosses are also stronger. If you do beat the boss in the 3rd chapter, you will get a glimpse of the epilogue boss fight, and you need to beat waves of enemies while avoiding the house's projectiles. If you beat this, you will unlock the next difficulty, Darkness. In this difficulty, you gain even lesser XP and self-revives, and also the healing orbs will heal less, which are dropped by the enemies, so you can heal yourself back up. And the Master Nightmares are now even stronger. In this difficulty, you will be able to complete the full epilogue and fight the boss within the house you faced in the previous difficulty. If you beat this boss, you have completed the game, but you will unlock the final difficulty called Nightmare. And this will make you gain even lesser XP and self-revives, while also making all the enemies a lot stronger with increased high rank enemy spawns. As of right now, this difficulty does not give you any new story, so it is just a hard challenge, and beating it does feel great. Like I said before, you can play this game co-op, so if you are in the menu, you can click on multiplayer and search for random people with the difficulty setting. Or you can share a code with your friends to make them join your game privately. The game difficulty scales out with the amount of players in a run, so you have to work together while facing enemies because they are hard to face solo when playing co-op. In terms of the best way to play the game, solo or co-op, well, it really can be played both ways. In solo, you can take your time more because the game is on pause when looking at the map or selecting talents or objects, so it's easier to plan and learn the game. Whereas in multiplayer, the countdown of the chapters will keep going, so you gotta be quick in what you want to build and move on with your teammates. In terms of difficulty, the game's player scaling is quite fair. I beat the game in Nightmare solo, which was hard, but fair. And I found that it is a lot harder in co-op because you can't control what other people do or build. Players can also disconnect, so the game scaling is still on the original players you can start with, or at least it seemed that way, which can make runs a lot harder. Also, they can just leave, and if they are the host, the game is over. But that is mostly an issue with playing with randoms. But if you have a good run with others, it's pretty fun. As final, you can also activate modifiers on your runs, which makes the game more challenging or easier. The red ones are more to make it challenging, and they can also give you more score gain, so you can increase your hero's base level much faster if you do them. If you want to learn the game a bit more, you can use the green ones to make the game easier, but they do decrease the score gain. I recommend, if you do start playing the game for the first time, that you use the green modifier Explorer to turn off the countdown so you can explore the maps more, taking your time to learn everything. Do note that if you play with these modifiers, you won't be able to unlock heroes, outfits, and the next difficulty setting. However, you can still level up the hero's base level and also can unlock their backstory fully. This will also work for finishing the epilogue with modifiers for the final backstory if you want an easier time experiencing the lore of each hero. But guys, that wraps up this guide. If you want a more in-depth guide, I will be posting a video where I talk you through a Nightmare solo run so you get an idea of how to play the game in a full run. Because runs will take around an hour, the video will also be an hour, but to explain everything fully, it has to be that long. So if you are interested, you can subscribe to the channel so you get notified when it is up. Also, I will be making more videos of the game, so you can watch those too if you are interested. If you found this video helpful, you can leave a like to support it, and leave a comment down below if you have some questions about the game you need help with. But I thank you guys all for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.